This is the EnT podcast, conversations about education, technology, and culture, with Dr. Doug Reed and Dr. Matt Stranick. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Dr. Doug Reed, and I am located in Abagway, the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people.
My name is Dr. Matthew Stranick, and I am located in Menakwisk in St. John, New Brunswick, which is situated on the traditional and unceded territory of the Wolastoqiyik Maliseet people.
Hello, everybody. Good day, and welcome to episode 39 of the EnT podcast. Matt Stranick, or you may see below the ghost of Matt Streamlord Stranick. Some of that's pertinent, some of it's not. You'll maybe Dr. Doug Reed, who's here with me, will be pleased to tell you about what our topic is today, because I think it's quite rad.
Hey, good morning, Matt. My the topic I came up with is inspired by you and my wife, actually, because we were talking the other day about what we should do, and you came up with a fantastic topic. Then I mentioned it to my wife, and she's like, "Oh, why don't you do this?" So we're going to do hers first, and then yours closer to New Year's, because that just kind of all rolls.
I'm telling you, just one thing I'm trying to work. One thing I'm trying to work on, and Doug has pointed this out, is like we got just a bit of a delay in this platform. And considering that I'm working now in a very nice basement suite, I am dealing with basement wireless level internet here. So the fact that we are able to sort of get this together to the extent that we do, I think is really good. But one of the problems is that we have these pretty spontaneous, albeit somewhat directed conversations, and you want to just interject respect, like you would in a classroom, but because of that delay, that natural communication element from a in-person transaction, or even just with, the best level internet, we're just not really able to pull that off here. So I'm doing my best to not jump in on the conversation anymore. And I think it'll ultimately be good for that. That's one of my, I'll call them ed tech resolutions, right? If I may. So, that was my interjection, Doug. Why don't you tell us more about this? What, anything else besides, what's the personal value here? Why don't you preview the content a little bit, bud?
Okay, so what we have is I am totally ripping off Charles Dickens. And our next 3 episodes are going to be Ghosts of EdTech Past, Ghost of EdTech Present, Ghost of EdTech Future. That's where we're coming from. So I know I'm ripping him off, but he's been dead for a while, so I don't think he'll mind. And it's not like there hasn't been a million television shows or movies about this stuff too. So I'm a big history nerd, just in case any of the listeners are unaware of that. My first degree was in history. I love reading about history and learning how we used to do things and what used to happen. And this episode gives me the opportunity to share my most prized academic finding. And that's the first paper that we're going to talk about. Like, I remember the day when I found this paper. Like, I had just finished, I was learning how to sail at the Mounts Bay Sailing Club in Western Australia. And I got on my bike and I was driving back, or I was cycling back to. Yes, please do.
Sorry. Do you know how to sail among all your other numerous things that you know how to do sailing? Are you like a solid sailor, or like entry level, or experienced, or what? I'm sorry. Just, I got to know, or my head will explode.
when I went to Australia, I vowed that I was to whatever, because I had a job that wasn't very nice, where like I felt like I was locked in a closet for 8 years. And so I was going to experience life. I was going to grab hold and do whatever. And one of the like it wasn't continuing ed at the university. It was just, hey, or go do these things. It's like sports and rec kind of things, but they weren't all sporty. It was more rec. And it was like, hey, here, go take sailing lessons for 6 Saturdays. So it was like an hour and a half, 6 Saturdays in a row, and it was a little teeny boat. And now I've kept going. Like, I can rent or hire any sailboat under 60 feet long and take it out and go. Yeah. So,
man,
I used to own 2 sailboats. So yes, I can sail.
Okay. Thanks for answering the question, Doug. Appreciate it. Please carry on.
One of my favorite sailings. One of my favorite sailing stories is when I worked at NAIT, because NAIT has a weird schedule where their semesters are 4 months long, like 4 full months, like 16 weeks or 17 weeks long. And then May, June, there was nothing to do. So they had when I was there, they had like a PD day or PD month where every person presented PD on something. Like, so every instructor presented and anybody could go do it and all that stuff. And there was a learn how to sail session. And I'm like, well, yes, I'm going to get paid to go sailing and learn how to sail. So I drive out to Lake Wabamun near Edmonton. I didn't know this was even a thing. And then I'm late and I'm running around and I get to the parking lot of this place finally, because I got lost twice. And I go running onto the dock, and then the nicest, kindest man at the end of the dock turns around. He's got a NAIT shirt on. And he said, I'm like, is this for the NAIT Learn to Sail? And he's like, yeah, you're fine. Come on. So we hop on the boat, and he turns out to be one of my best friends in the world. It was so nice. Like, we literally sat, and there was two Learn to Sail people on the boat with him. And the other guy had been there for a while, and we left the dock, and Dan is the guy's name that owns the boat. He's like, oh, so have you ever sailed before? And the other fellow said, oh yeah, I took one of those evening cruises and off Vancouver and all the rest. And then he turned to me and said, what about you? And the jib, the sail at the front, the little triangular sail way up at the front, was kind of flapping and making some noise. And I'm like, do you mind if I get rid of that flapping? Because that's driving me nuts. And Dan was like, yeah, okay. So I undid it, retied it, zipped it all up in like 2 seconds. And he looked at me and he said, what are you doing every Saturday for the summer? Because that's when we race. How would you like to come race? And yeah, so that's how I did it. It was like one of my most favorite opportunities. But anyway, sorry. So that's a giant tangent. I'm on.
So no, but this is the most maritime content we could possibly have on this show right now. The most maritime possible content. So please, anyway, carry on, my friend. That was a very illustrative digression.
Yeah, so I was learning how to sail. I finished one of these Saturday things, so it was like noon on a Saturday, and I was just cycling back, and it's Australia in the summer, right? It's like 37 degrees. It's just gorgeous. And I had to go past University of Western Australia. Like, that was just where the bike path was. So I stopped. I went to the library there because I had my student card for my institution. And I went through the stacks. And I found an article from 1901. I found an article called Paper versus Slate.
I saw that.
Education Circular. And from 1901, it was, here's why you should use paper and pencil and not use slate. And I, like, being the nerd, the history nerd that I am, and the education nerd, I guess, I was in heaven. It was like, I cannot believe I found this. I felt like Indiana Jones. It's like, look what I found. Isn't this amazing? And then I had to track down the rest. And I followed it for 18 years in Western Australia. Like, I followed the pattern of publications for it. So in 1901, they're saying, here's why you should do it. And by 1918, they're like, slate's gone. We're done with slate. You have to use pencil and paper now. So it took nearly 20 years for them to make that change, which makes me feel better about the changes we're doing right now with computers and the internet and all that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, we're going at the same speed.
I was deeply motivated and impressed by the fact that not only is this actually covering with some amount of seriousness, as it turns out, and some amount of personal significance for you, which I wouldn't have necessarily connotated from the Google Doc, as it's turning out. But no, man, this is all quite rad. The blending of the personal significance with the professional, and the fact that on the episode about the EdTech past, we are actually, you went into the past for the purposes of the episode. I like it when format and content complement one another from just a thematic standpoint. And I'll just, by the way, shout out to Aaron, Mrs. Reed. Great theming for the show, and I appreciate the Dickens reference with all this, man. So I just there's a substantive thing with the season and the content of the show and the format. It all kind of aligns. You might say this episode is seasonally affected. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh.
Okay. Did you? Okay. I'm letting the moment go by.
That was good.
And you've assembled some awesome visuals for this too, which we won't even get into. I'm ahead on the notes for a change, so I'm actually looking. I've got all the notes together, and I'm looking at the draft of the WordPress that hasn't gone out yet. And you put together some amazing stuff here. So paper versus slate, and the graphics. I think we're going to have to spend a good amount of time left in this hour to speak to the graphics on this one, Doug. You've got some goodies here.
Yes, indeed.
Again, now I think we're going to blast forward a few decades from 1901 to 1940, aren't we, Doug?
We'll get there, but there's one thing I just want to reflect upon. The quote I pulled out of Paper versus Slate is in the article. They say slate is beginning to disappear. There's no doubt about it. And that's cool. That's an observation. But what I loved is the second part. And what are the educational gains? So this is 120 some years ago. What are the educational gains? Like, they're asking that question. It's like, why are we doing this? Are we doing it just because it's the technology? What's going to help the students? What's going to help the teachers? So that grounds everything. And that grounds our podcast. We have had those conversations. Like, why are we doing this? Like, I just keep writing why. Sometimes I get tired of writing the whole sentence. Like, what are the educational gains? Just to make me feel good.
So if I may, Doug, is it fair to say that this, year plus endeavor of podcasting has helped cultivate your sense of why? Has it given you sort of a voice to some of your, picadillos or wonderings or thinkings or whatnot? Because I'm certainly finding that a bit. I mean, before we started recording, the sheer geekery of my virtual background. We could have recorded that. We won't go into it, but I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thing to have this as a venue for some stuff, right? Don't you agree, Doug?
I do, and that's why 3 weeks from now, when we do the topic you came up with,
oh man,
I want to dig in deep then. So
are we?
So spoiler alert, come back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, shall we just not say what that one is and kind of lead up to it as like,
yeah.
And then as a double whammy,
double.
And then as a double whammy, immediately after the yet to be declared mystery end of year episode, that we're then going to do, because God damned if we're not, pardon me, I've got a complete WordPress post for it. The episode that we actually recorded last week, but had to scupper due to recording quality purposes. So we're going to do the same references, the same notes, and that'll be our, like, after you have your holiday period, you want to just decompress and kind of go with something off the shelf. Well, we already have the shelf preloaded inadvertently. So it turned out that the kind of a week recording of an episode where we were just kind of like, yeah, let's just redo that, triggered off this kind of thing wherein now we've got literally the next 5 planned out, including this one. So I'm just like, okay, decent outcome from a fail initially. So I think, speaking to reflection, if I may, and again, I'm sorry, and now I'm kind of going off on a ramble here, but I feel like one of the next tattoos I'm going to get at some point, that fail better, fail once, fail better, whatever, the Beckett quote. You know what I mean, Doug, there? I think that's kind of an ethos for the show.
I don't remember the quote, but I know the concept. Yes.
I could Google it now and just be like, oh, there it is. But anyways, so there. Failing better has kind of been a good thing for me this year, and I'm pleased that it's kind of, this show is kind of a venue for that a little bit too. So there. So yeah, it's cool that they're having the same kind of dialogue back in the day that we're having with some of this stuff now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to get us to closer to the day. Now, I don't think we failed. I think we found ways not to do it. Right? To me, that's not the same thing.
Okay.
There had been some stuff I have failed at, but
oh yeah,
this is just okay. We're still learning. Welcome to being a lifelong learner. Anyway, now I'd like to jump to 1940.
Okay. There's a 4 decades,
article,
if you will. 1.5 world wars. Yeah. Okay. Please.
Yeah. So this comes out of Boston. So this is before the U.S. joined the war, and it's about the radio as an effective means of adult civil education. Now,
okay,
I am a nerd when it comes to the technology, when it comes to the history and all that. But I was shocked when I read in this article, in this guy's dissertation, that in 1922, so 100 years ago, 73 radio stations in the U.S. were broadcasting for educational institutions. It's like, how big was radio? And how amazing is it that educators recognize the possibilities as an educational tool? And that's what we do. We keep looking at things and keep saying, how can we help our students? How can we help other people learn more? How can we help our potential students that aren't getting what they need to get? So it just makes me feel good to know that I have joined that tradition. And we have joined that tradition of how do we help people? How do we provide service?
Can I get a thank you to TRU for making this all possible by having me and Doug on the same staff for a period and giving us such an utterly, I don't know, I'm not going to use any adjectives. It was a time, such a unique time. And now it's subsequently, because of that friendship, actually it went from being like sort of knowing each other around the department and then seeing each other on Facebook, and then you seem like a reasonable human, and just kind of it being at that level to, hey, now we've got this whole friggin' weekly thing going on for. So yeah, I guess thanks to past actors for enabling the present moment, shall we say. There.
So you did your undergrad in New Brunswick, right?
I got 2 undergrads because I count my 2 separately, right? I got the BA and I got the BEd. Sure. They're both from the same institution in New Brunswick. So there, pedantic answer to your question. Yes.
Did they have a radio station at that university?
I'll tell you what, I'm glad we have the opportunity to go into this now, because this is a bit where over kind of my world start to slide together a little bit. So I'll try and stick to the biographical details here, just because they line up nicely, and I don't want to kind of go off on any tangents to kind of get away from that. I'll start out with in high school, I was like kind of one of these people that I was kind of a misfit and a miscreant, but I also had a lot of friends, or enough friends that I was part of a social group, who felt, I guess, similarly. And as sort of part of within that, I mean, if you look at the stereotypical, like, things somebody like that can be involved in, I had a blast for, I transitioned from like playing percussion very, very badly in the junior high school band. I was just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm going to participate in listening to music. Into playing. It was like they called it a radio station, playing at the it was like running the stereo in the cafeteria at Fredericton High School, and I did that for a couple of years, and we played in the mornings. And the theme for my show, right before the bell rang, like for like 1 or 2 days a week for a couple of months, was "Fuck School" by the Replacements, who were like one of my favorite punk bands. So that's like, and it took a little while, I got it through about 4 or 5 times before I was assigned cafeteria duty, cleaning tables, and no longer permitted to do that. And then I went to St. Thomas University. And the thing about Fredericton is it's very centralized, because UNB campus, University of New Brunswick campus, and St. Thomas campus exist right beside each other. They're effectively on the same plot of land. Effectively, they're so, and they also have a New Brunswick Community College campus up there too. Now, they didn't when I was there. And after I graduated, so there's the CHSR FM is the UNB campus station, and it's so rad. And so many of my friends over the years were involved in that, just doing programming, music programming mainly, but not exclusively, spoken word. This is my opportunity to give respect to Joe Blades, a poet who died a few years ago, who I did some spoken word with stuff in Fredericton. He went on to he was doing it at the time, but really make a mark on the spoken word scene in Fredericton and in Atlantic Canada on the indie level, using for a lot of it his show Ashes, Paper, and Beans on CHSR. And I would argue there that you're getting educational and cultural value from a campus base, but they emphasize the community base there too. I had a show there, a couple of music shows after I did my degrees, and I was kind of just working a call center, and I needed something productive and fun to do. So I actually did a show, Ampage FM, playing alternative music for a couple of years. And then all of my, stuff, my broadcasting kind of thing, just took a complete hiatus due to my career stuff, and just, having a family and doing other stuff. And now it's ended up that I'm having these two podcasts right around the same time, kicked off by kind of a lull in the career. And again, similarly, just like, well, want to do something quasi-productive during this time, even if it's a bit of a gong show in other areas of my life right now. So that's a really long-winded diatribe, dude. But you've touched on a strong topic here for me, and I'm prepared to no longer talk about it and let you respond or not respond.
So the answer I heard was yes, there was a radio station?
Yeah, there was. So CHSR 97.9 FM, another, might get that tattooed at some point or not.
Sorry, you just blipped out there. Do you know what year the radio station started?
Oh, gosh. Well, okay, so UNB is, I want to say, one of the oldest universities in what is now Canada, right? And I'm thinking that strictly on that basis, the radio department has got to have been similarly one of the first, just because, in the Confederacy of Canada. But as far as the year, I don't actually know. Wikipedia might be able to say that, I'm sure, or their website. I don't know. I'll include that in the resources maybe.
Okay, because I went to Acadia University in Nova Scotia, and they had a radio station, and it was whatever. When I was there, they just called it Axe Radio because it's the Acadia Axeman. That's the logo and stuff.
That's actually very cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But they started in like 1923. So right around the time that all this is happening down in the States. And when I lived in Edmonton for all those years, they had CKUA out of University of Alberta. Well, started University of Alberta, and that was like 1926, I think. And that's listener-free radio. If you ever want to listen to a good radio station that's different, go online, listen to CKUA. And
different how so?
The programming there is brilliant. It is not popular music.
Diverse?
It is not commercial based. It is diverse up the wazoo. Like every Friday night, I would listen to the Celtic Show for 2 hours. They have like Sundays at 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning was the old disc jockey, and he only played stuff from the 30s and 40s, and then described all the musicians and everything. Like, I think you would really like that radio station. Yeah.
Man, at one point there was this guy who played vintage music, vintage vinyl on before me. I can't remember the name of the guy or the show, but it was like old timey kind of music. And then I'd come on and I'd start with like just blasting loud punk music, and it just kind of hung together. People could listen to both or not, or just. Yeah, I hear you, bud. It's nothing like a broad, inclusive, community-minded media outlet, right? As opposed, support your grassroots, participate in it, even if you're not driving content. Go to their friggin' homepage during Fund Drive and just flip them $20 or $50. Get enough to get like a swag bag with a button or something, and you can sort of. They might even issue tax receipts, for that kind of thing. Yeah, I haven't done it. I'm guilty. I'm hearing myself say this now, and I'm like, I don't know. I'll put them on my Christmas card this year. My Christmas card list this year, maybe. Anyway, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So when that previous article we were talking about, like the 1920s, that's when this was all exploding.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump ahead another 20 years to go to the Hamill article about radio and television.
1960.
And they talk about the growing 1960. It's the importance of education and media, such as radio, TV, and motion pictures. So we've made the leap from radio, and now there's TV and motion pictures included. And they're talking about it as a notable increase in published literature on the subject. And they've been putting these together since the 1950s, but I just wanted a different gap. And they had the nicest write-up. But literally, if you want to go see a list of, here's a whole bunch of articles on what radio stations were doing what and how they were doing it in education and how the TV was starting to get involved. And that was still
starting
before either of us was born.
Oh, man. It's starting to get involved, folks. It's going to be like stuck to your face, or 2 inches from your face, for most of your waking moments, just starting to get involved. Okay. Awesome.
Well, we got to start. And then there's reasons why things work and why things don't work. But there was a fellow in 1963 who's named EnT, and he talked about the application of radio in community education in Ethiopia. And this is another thing I like to do, right? I like to go find. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to go outside of North America, right? Or outside the westernized world, whatever that means. And they're talking about, here's how we can use radio. And this article had so many charts and pieces of data about the literacy rates. And the literacy rates were low. Like unbelievably low, like 86% of the population in some of these places couldn't read. And so the radio was how they were reaching out to all these people all over the place. And that ties into what I did in 99 when I was working at University of Calgary. I taught people on the radio, right? Like
tell me more.
They were in the Yukon, and they were all educators that needed to learn how to use the latest ed tech stuff with their students. So I'm sitting in my little radio booth with my microphone, and the guy across the glass was plugging the cords into the big box, the way you'd see in like the 1960s Mad Men show. And they were still doing that in Calgary in the late 90s. And it was like, okay, now we're going to talk to Dawson River or Dawson. Click. Now Dawson can talk. And now we're going to go talk to like Selkirk Falls or whatever the names of the towns were. I apologize. I don't think Selkirk Falls is one because I don't know. There's a lot of falls there. But so I continue to follow on to the area. Yeah, and I should know better. I've been there. I've been to the Yukon since then, and I loved it. I tried to get a couple of jobs there. I wanted to move there. I loved it so much.
I've never been to Northern Canada, and I am much fucking less for it. I mean, sorry, pardon my French, but that's, yeah.
I loved it. Do you, the cremation of Sam McGee, you remember that?
Yes.
That poem?
Oh my dear God. Don't even get me started. I'm going to go like on a sentimental tear that involves my grandfather and everything else. Short answer, very much so. Yeah.
We kayaked on the Lake Labarge, where that's
Lord.
where that's the basis of the story. We were there in the summertime, obviously, but so yeah, we loved it so much.
A lot of boating in this episode, dude.
That's kind of been my life. That's the hope.
I think
the hope is I'll have another boat here and do it again.
Awesome.
So the fact that in 1963, there's somebody studying Ethiopia saying, here's how radio can help with practical application and propagation of the ideals of community ed. So they're looking at community education as being important. And I love the fact that he said, so-called underdeveloped countries.
Oh my
I
good
love
Lord.
that because that demonstrates where the bias is. I just love it so much. It's like, no, we're not underdeveloped. We develop differently. That's not under. And
nice to see a starting awareness of a critical consciousness. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So with all that, I'm going to jump further ahead because we only have an hour or so.
Well, we're at 32 minutes, dude. We got plenty of time. And we were like, we're actually
okay.
Yeah, no, we're only like we've actually. It feels like we've been digressing quite a lot, and I suppose we tend to. But on the first instance, this show is somewhat based on digressions and the interaction and the creativity, I dare say, from there off. However, it can sometimes feel when you got a lot of that going on in a single show, where it's like, oh, but in actual fact, to speak to your point, we've got we're still 25 minutes short of where we normally are at this point. So,
see, I have no doubt that we have the ability to talk through 20 minutes, no problem.
We might breeze through it.
We can do that.
Sure, man. All right, well, keep going. Maybe. So what were you going to speak to here, pal? Tell me about it.
So there's a Riser 2001 article about the history of instructional design and technology.
Yes.
Specifically a history of instructional media. And because it's Ghosts of EdTech Past, EdTech is a modern term, right? Like it used to be called instructional media. It just used to. And part of it is we come back to what we talked about in our first and second episodes way back in the day, right? Riser describes the naming issue, the definition issue, that we don't know what to call ourselves. And it's part of the quote is most individuals outside the profession, as well as many inside it, when asked to describe what instructional technology is, mentions computers, video, CD-ROMs, overhead slide projectors, and the hardware and software, and they leave out the teaching part, which is a struggle that we have brought up many, many times. We've discussed that many episodes, right? It's the tech part stands out and the education part gets left behind. Next week, we're going to go into more of that. I've got another. Yeah, next week, I found an article that'd be perfect, but it's too modern day. We'll talk about that.
Look at you being all thematically conscious. Sure. Yeah, okay. Well, he's the director, and he's the director, and I'm the producer. And then on the notes, I indulge my, natural propensity towards, creative writing. So that's kind of the breakdown here. So when the director says there's going to be some resources, you can be sure that there will, or not, because the director's direction can tend to be arbitrary based on some directorship I've had in my past. Whoa! See how I'm tying that together? Anyway, please continue, Doug. Yeah.
So I hope that the listeners are seeing a theme. We started with chalk and slate, and then radio, and then TV, and then motion pictures. And now I've got to the point where it's computers, videos, CD-ROM, overhead, slide projectors. And so that's where we're going when it comes to the technical part. And I have a question for you, not to put you on the spot. Have you used all of those in the Riser article? Computers, videos, CD-ROMs, overhead, slide projectors?
Oh, geez, no, man. My educational practice, it's like I'm 45, but I didn't really find my way into teaching as a career until I was in my late 20s. And when I got into like the formal education program, the internet was already very well developed. I mean, circa, 2008 as a thing, right? So, I mean, everything that I've kind of been doing or shown to do since the beginning of my formal training as an educator has been with a web browser and a PowerPoint slide. Those are like the two things. If you can operate those two things, you can have a very viable career, or even if you can operate them badly, as I've seen from some senior leadership or junior senior leadership or anybody. I guess I shouldn't heap scorn on upper management just because they're easy targets. But hey, ghost of ed tech past. Anyway, what else, my dude?
So along this line, all of these, everything we have talked about is student facing. Every one of these bits of technology is student facing. Yep. And when I started, so that would have been 91. Would have been my first year of teaching. And my school was so excited because they got a photocopier and they had just got rid of the Gestetner machine. Have you ever heard of the Gestetner machine?
Dude, again, we're hitting on some personal things just anecdotally. And I want to give a shout out to Bob. Yeah. Okay, so I got two. Yeah, I won't even get into the two Bobs thing, but my dad, Bob Stranick, shout out to Bob Stranick. Who he had like in his time when he was a young man, he had this Gestetner machine, and he ran off like some kind of pamphlets of some variety. Sorry, Bob, I'll try and leave the content of that. But he would tell me about it from time to time with sort of a fondness, and I think. In my early, we even kept it around in the family for a certain number of years in sort of storage, just kind of dragging it around when we moved. I think it's subsequently been kind of left with, Habitat for Humanity or something, but probably not that, but you know what I mean. So yeah, man, having never operated it or actually done it for any such thing, it's remarkable that as soon as you said that, I was like, oh man. So yeah, viva the Gestetner, I suppose.
For listeners that may not have been in education or may not have
cool parents
been as nerdy as we obviously are.
Yeah.
A Gestetner was like a different version of a photocopier. You had your master, and it was done on this wacky, like 3-sided, like there was 3 pieces of paper kind of in there, and you peel the top off, you stick it to this drum or this barrel kind of thing, and then you hand crank it, and it goes through some copier fluid, and then that would stick to, or the fluid would stick to a piece of paper, and if you needed, so if you needed 30 copies, you hand cranked the thing 30 times, and every time it went around, it stamped onto the one. So you built up like awesome arm muscles and stuff. And those Gestetner masters were, oh my goodness, they were so vital and important. Like they were worth their weight in gold. But they changed how teaching happened, right? Because that changed your pedagogical practice, because suddenly you could give everybody a piece of paper that you created with whatever the text and stuff is on it that you wanted.
Revolutionary, as it were.
So you never had to do that?
No.
Yes. It was a step that people don't really talk about.
Circa 2008. No. Remember, that's my timeline for being a teacher and using instructional media. So cool, man.
Well, you were a kid that the teacher said, "Hey, go into the staff room and do that."
Oh God, no, man. I was the trouble.
You could burn off some energy. Here, go, Craig.
No, man. I was the annoying guy who just kind of hung at the back and went out to smoke and fucking listened to headphone music, really kind of to the level that other people around them could hear before class. And, just, yeah, man, I was on my personal trip a bit more heavily than my, school-based thing. My school-based thing was very much set to a point against, I'm kind of inculcated with my own personal grievances, and I'm bringing them to school, and the school is just going to kind of have to deal with it. And that's kind of been my approach at various points within my career, imagine, which is a drag, really. I'll be the first to admit. But anyway, dude, where were we going with that one? Sorry?
So all I was really going with was most times when people talk about the ed or the tech in ed tech, it's all student facing. And they don't often talk about the stuff in behind the scenes for what the teachers, the pedagogues have to deal with. So I just wanted to bring that up. And if I could have found some articles about Gestetners, I would have, and that might come back again.
I'll tell you,
if I can ever find a treasure.
Okay, here's my last unhelpful contribution to this for now. Is if you want an article about Gestetners, we could actually just get ChatGPT. We get an AI to write an article for that and see what the hell it looks like, and then we could take it apart and make fun of it. Anyway, end of transmission. That might be for another episode, but
okay.
Sorry, dude. Don't you think so?
Okay, so yeah, why not?
It could be.
I
don't know, man. I like literature and I like literature and educational discourse. So to me, that would be hilarious. But anyway, sorry. Do carry on.
For sure. The last article I found for this theme, the Ghosts of EdTech Past, is a Sadler 2004 article, and it's the evolution of American educational technology. And what I liked about this was Sadler went back, because originally educational technology was defined as any systemic approach to education. So it was like the industrial revolution model of what it is. If this is what we're doing, if this is the structure, then that's educational technology. And what's happened is the technology part has taken over recently. It is about what whiz bang machine and all that stuff.
Well,
but in the article,
okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I was only going to say you're absolutely right. And further to the point, anything to do with tech is inherently political and fraught because of its association with resources, right? The dollar and budgetary costing of it. And so people build up these bogus, I was going to say, bitch-ass silos. I mean, that's the first thing that came into my mind. Just these fiefdoms and it's just, yeah, okay. And this is how a field becomes unable to define itself because you got so many people who just got a hand on it, and it's just about friggin' procurement processes at publicly run universities. Like, great. Sorry. Please continue. It's
No, I remember the one time I made the mistake of putting something on Twitter about, there was some ed tech theme going on, and I said, this isn't ed tech. You guys are all just capitalists. You're trying to make money. You're not trying to help students because money's more important to you. And I got brigaded. I got just hammered by about 70 or 80 followers of whoever this capitalist is. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done here. You guys are you only care about money.
And then, speaking of the year that's been, Elon turned Twitter into a fucking shit show. So speaking of capitalists just completely blowing up public discourse, there you go. So you were ahead of the curve, is really, in my opinion.
Yeah, sometimes being on the bleeding edge isn't good. You get bloody.
Yeah, you just get a little suturing on it. It's just only a flesh wound. Anyway.
True enough. True enough. Now, the last thing from the Sadler article that I want to mention is he talked about Johann Kaminis, who was a Czech educator. And he was like born in like 1592 to 1670. And he was the first true forerunner of modern educational technology. He's also seen as the first true leader for like just public education. So everybody should get educated. I found an article. I found do you ever listen to BBC in our times?
Nope.
They did an hour episode. BBC in our times goes and grabs 3 academics and they talk about whatever their topic of expertise is. And Melvin Bragg, the guy that's in charge, he keeps them tuned in. He's really smart and knowledgeable and stuff too. But they talked about Kaminis for an hour. If you want to hear where education was and what this guy did to help guide it, it's it is worth your hour to listen to. So
sounds like we ought to rip it off and do a special episode about it sometime, Director.
I had that on my list, and then all these cool Christmas ideas came up. So he's on my list, but
I'm glad that it is.
So that's where we're at. It's the systemic approach to education. And I like this because it looped back to the 1500s. So it is ghosts of ed tech past, right? Like we've gone 400, 500 years into the past with all our stuff. We have my favorite article I've ever found. That's my holy grail. I slide that article and that reference into so many papers.
That's rad. No,
so
that's fantastic.
Those are the articles that I've got, and then I have this. There is a mishmash of images that I have shared this time, and some of them need explanations.
I would like to now again interject here, if I may, that you, sir, it was all I could do not to put it on Instagram. I'm not even going to tell you which one until I'll leave you to guess, Doug. One of these pictures for me is like, it was one of the best pictures I've seen in weeks. And I'm going to put it on Instagram as like a preview to this episode or something, because it's so friggin' awesome. And I won't say anything further, but I was just like, you really hit it out of the park with the graphics on this one, Val. So anyway, carry on.
Thanks. Like literally my mother, I got to clean some stuff out.
Yeah.
So years ago, I had seen an article where Tim Berners-Lee got interviewed, and he's the guy that's credited as the creator of the World Wide Web. And this picture was posted with it. And it was from a recent Christmas party, which ties in really nicely. And he said this is the first image that he ever put into HTML.
Whoa.
This is the first worldwide web image ever.
That's a very
So
specialized
for people that want to know
knowledge, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, it's four women that worked at CERN that are all dolled up, and it's like Les Orabel Cernettes. So because it's Switzerland, right? They speak French there. So that's what the picture is. And I saved that picture when I saw it. That was 20 some years ago now. That was in the 90s when I grabbed this one. And it just makes me feel good. It's like, that's a piece of history right there. This is where we came from. The first time he ever got anything to work, it's this one. This is Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. This is the Wright brothers, right? That's what this is. This is one of those moments. So I just loved it.
I think it's rad. I think I want them to start singing "Just Another Manic Monday." Ooh, they look like the Bangles or something. They're having a good time. Anyway,
but that's the era in the hairstyles. And
stuff. It is. It is. The internet should be a party. So I think is the underlying message here. Yeah. Okay.
And there's no real educational value for the education circular one. I just took that screen capture because it just makes me feel good. So the Minister of Education in 1901 said, use paper, stop using slate. And I found this list of reasons why educational radio declined in the 30s. So in the 20s it blew up. And then in the 30s.
Awesome. It is so good. It is so good. You're going to read it and you're just going to be like, that's what they said about the last widget that I tried to procure, from your widget factories. Like, nah, I can't use these widgets. These other ones are, it's just bravo. Very, very nice on that one, Doug. That's
so part of the history that I loved. It wasn't so much educational history as history in general. These are all the reasons why stuff doesn't work now. These are all the excuses, and here's what always happens. And it happened 90 years ago. It happens today. So we are doomed to repeat that. What's that quote? People that know history.
Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it.
And people that know history are doomed to watch other people repeat it.
Dang. There's the rub. I wasn't aware of that extra additional bonus. I almost said bogus layer. Yeah.
No, if only it was bogus. But it's like, we've already done this and we're doing it again. So I just included that. The next one, if you want my theoretical framework, for my PhD distribution. So this document is like the white box with points and the blue in the middle. That's what I learned doing my PhD. That's the one diagram that shows online learning environments and technology.
So
I put that in there just because it's like, I should what, sir?
You should put up a PDF file of your thesis with it, man.
Oh, I suppose.
No, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just
being a
jerk.
No. People could just go to my LinkedIn and I have it in my LinkedIn.
Is it on
I just assume
LinkedIn?
people go to LinkedIn and
okay, fair enough.
It's there someplace. So they can just click it and it's there.
Good. Okay. See Doug's LinkedIn for more.
Honestly, that one diagram. This diagram is far more interesting than the 301 page thesis that I wrote. This is a little more concise.
Well, it's nice when you have a diagram
I have
like
that. So, and I found this first Apple One ad. It's the only Apple ad I've ever saved because it had the original logo in it. It's down in the bottom with whatever Newton sitting by the tree, and It's not a great version of it because it got scanned and whatever, but there you go. I just put it in because that's where we used to be. This is one of the revolutionary things that made all the difference. Finally, the last picture. I believe the last picture is the one that you wanted to put on Instagram. If I had to guess, it's this.
You're 100%
in
right.
A shop. It's one of those like bright yellow machines. It's obviously in an industrial setting, and it comes out of Australia. And that's what I love about Australia. They have a different sensibility with some things. And there's the big danger sign, and it just says not to be operated by fuckwits. And that gets to the point. That gets to the point.
That just summarizes so much about this show in general. I don't know. I'm just yeah, it's going on my Instagram. I don't even care. Maybe if I remember to in a week, maybe I'll set it into the WordPress theme or something like that as a permanent element on the sidebar, or something. Anyway, yeah, no, that's damn good advice under a lot of circumstances, actually. Okay, my dude. So where are we at now? We've gone. I believe we still have the question and word and phrase of the podcast, although not necessarily in that order.
So the word of the podcast for me is just EdTech past. It's here's where we came from. And the question is, what have we learned from the past of EdTech?
Right.
Because
there's
a lot of lessons we're learning. We're relearning over and over. What's the educational gain from using this? And so the stuff that we grounded ourselves in 100 and some years ago, we're still looking at. And something I didn't even bring up during the article is when I was in Australia, I was using iPods, the first generation 5 iPods in a classroom to help with teaching and stuff. And a fellow brought in his like old Thomas Edison's Victrola, and he had a pamphlet, and he had like those, those wax cylinders before records became a thing. They had the wax cylinders that they would play on.
We've talked about it on the show before. Yeah.
Yes. He had the pamphlet that said, Edison had the list of here's what you can do to help with teaching with my Victrola. And if I'm kicking myself because I didn't get a copy and I can't find it anywhere online, that would have been something. And the phrase of the podcast for me is, we've joined a tradition of service to help people. That is the most important thing. That's my karma, so that's why I love
it. I'm typing it into the post as we speak. So we have joined
a tradition of service to help people.
We have joined a tradition of service to help people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's really good, man. That's I'm feeling like it's a pretty solid episode here. One thing that I've been doing on the posts is I've just been kind of emptying my inbox a little bit, my emails to self, which I find is maybe kind of a quasi-productive way of both clearing my inbox and adding some value to the notes as kind of their own thing for those who choose to partake. I appreciate it. I got some okay ones that align with this, but I like how, we're taking, I guess my summarizing statement on this to close down for me is just that I really appreciate we're at the end of the time. We're just right before it really picks up for the Christmas and holiday rush and energy and everything. And I know for some people that may feel like it's already started. But it's nice to kind of be able to just take stock and enjoy and look back. And we kind of have the next, 4 episodes after this kind of hashed out. So we can now just kind of focus on just executing the process rather than having to kind of like, oh, what are we going to do? And, it's just nice to kind of have that one more thing kind of checked off, if you will. And honestly, some of the stuff I think that we can touch on with these next coming topics, I think we're just going to have some really solid, interesting episodes. as far as the potential goes. So thanks to you, Doug, for as always for coming up with this and being an awesome co-host, and thanks to Aaron for adding some thematic interestingness to the mix, and thanks to everybody who's checking this out for any reason whatsoever.
And thank you for coming on this journey with me and being cool with the topic. I appreciate that.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate your appreciating it. Now we're going to try and out-maritime each other out the door. Bye. See ya. It's if you ever try and escape from a maritime household, you got to give yourself 15 extra minutes, to get to your car. You have to factor that in. So, but seriously though, Doug,
and you got to slap with. Sorry, you also have to slap your legs and say, "Well, time to go." A couple of times.
You got to have the whole preamble. Well, getting out of my chair. Well.
Okay.
I slapped my leg so hard that my webcam just went off. So I think we're
I think that is a sign the fates are telling us it's time to go.
We more than run our course. If this is what my new apartment looks like, it's a garden. Yeah. Anyway, bye everybody. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Bye everybody.